We have a veterans everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Schuylkill County. Welcome to Sacramento, Pennsylvania, and to the beautiful Higgins and Likens Valley, where now 8 generations of the Mosser family have farmed this land with pride, purpose, and passion. I'm Dave Mosser, CEO of the Mosser Family Companies, and it is truly a privilege and an honor to host Governor Shapiro and all of you here today as we showcase Pennsylvania's thriving and essential potato industry. I'd like to begin by extending a warm welcome and offering my sincere thanks to many of the elected officials who have joined us. Schuylkill County Commissioners Gary Hess, Larry Bedoya, Boots Barron Hetherington, Township Supervisors Keith Mosser, my dad, thank you, and Representative Joanne Stair. So thank you so much for being here today. Your leadership and support are vital to the future of agriculture in Pennsylvania. I'd also like to take a moment to proudly introduce the 7th, my parents, the 8th generation, my sister and I, and the 9th generation, our children of the Mosser family, my family, who are here with us today to celebrate and carry forward our legacy. None of this would be possible without the dedication of our incredible team. Many of the members are here. Over 440 people work tirelessly to grow, pack, process, load, and deliver fresh potatoes to our retail, food service, and ingredient partners nationwide. As Pennsylvania's leading potato grower and one of the largest potato shippers in the country, we proudly distribute over 7,000 trailer loads annually, enough to provide every American with more than 2.5 servings per year. From 50-pound bulk boxes to consumer bags, dehydrated potato products, value-added products like microwave potatoes with seasoning and sauces, our work feeds families, supports jobs, and strengthens communities. At Mossers, we care. We care about our team, our partners, our environment, and we care about our state. We deeply value the Commonwealth's investment in agriculture and its recognition of farmers as the foundational economic pillar, not only for Pennsylvania, but for the region and the nation. We are strategically located within a day's travel of 40% of the U.S. population, roughly 132 million people, and we believe that Pennsylvania is uniquely positioned to meet the rising demand for the nation's #1 vegetable, the nutrient-dense and versatile potato. At Mossers, we strive to lead through innovation, committed to continuous improvement, research, and adopting new technologies to shape the future of farming. Pennsylvania once grew over 100,000 acres of potatoes, and today it's fewer than 7,000. We believe it's time to reverse that trend by growing more potatoes here and at home and reducing reliance on imports from other regions. As an 8th-generation farmer and a 3rd-generation business leader, I'm honored to host this event on behalf of Governor Shapiro. We're proud recipients of an Ag Innovation Grant, which will help us invest in a modern 8-row potato planter, improving planting efficiency across our widespread and variable fields. This critical support will help boost in-state production and advance Pennsylvania agriculture. At this time, I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing the Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Governor Josh Shapiro. Governor, we are grateful for your leadership, your strong support of Pennsylvania agriculture, and your recognition of the vital role that farming plays in our communities, the economy, and the future. Your administration's commitment to innovation, investment, and rural development is deeply appreciated, and it's essential. Thank you for believing in Pennsylvania farmers and fostering the partnership that help us grow and lead. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in join welcoming Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Dave, it is awesome to be here at Mossers. It's great to be back in Schuylkill County, and I've learned a whole lot today. Let me say I love your competitive spirit. I'm competitive as hell. I want to be #1 at everything. And I love that you brag about Mossers being #1. And I want you to not only be #1 as you're situated today, I want you to be #1 with an even bigger lead over whoever the hell is #2. And so we're going to work together to make sure that happens. It's an incredible story that we learned about here today. But I think for me, the thing that is really so incredibly special is that this is our 8th generation. And I think what is so unique about Pennsylvania agriculture and Pennsylvania farming is how so many of our farms that are producing wonderful foods, produce, you name it, are family owned. I'm proud of the fact that we've got more small and mid-sized farms per capita than any other state in the entire country. I don't want our farms just to be taken over by big corporate interests. I want family-owned farms to thrive here in Pennsylvania, and Mossers is a great example of that. And so it's very special to be with you. It's awesome to be here with your folks, and very, very cool to be here with the next generation. I was already making sure that they've got plans to come work here, and maybe you could follow Grandpa's footsteps and run for township supervisor too. Don't run against him. You can run when he's done, and then we'll go from there. But I'm really grateful for the fact that this is family-owned and that you have such a rich legacy and a rich tradition. I want to just say, Leela, where's Leela? Here you are. Thank you very much for coming and joining me in Harrisburg for a conversation about the way our farmers support our food banks about a month or so ago. And I told you then I wanted to come visit, and I stayed true to my word, and we're here today. I also want to bring greetings from Secretary Russell Redding, who couldn't be with us today. His wonderful wife, Nina, who basically uses all of the butter produced in Pennsylvania for her peanut brittle around holiday time. She unfortunately hurt her ankles, so she's dealing with that today. So Russell sends his best. And I also just need to say to one of Schuylkill County's own and a former employee here, Katie Weishock, we stole her from Mossers. She works for us at the governor's residence and is doing amazing, amazing work. And I know sources the potatoes that we eat at the governor's residence from right here. So I want to say it just feels wonderful to be here with all of you and to be at a company that has been growing potatoes here in Schuylkill County for over 5 decades, and to hear about the plans that Dave and others have here for the next 5 decades is really, really, really exciting for us, and I think puts Pennsylvania in a unique position to dominate the market on potatoes, particularly as the company in the East, and we want to push as far west as we can and as far north into Canada as we can as well. Not just for the increasing, hopefully, the number of employees from over 450 here and harvesting more acres of potatoes, but because it makes Pennsylvania the leader when it comes to ag and when it comes to potatoes. And I think it is really important that we grow upon that. And Mossers is a key reason that we're going to be able to do that. I say this all the time. Ag is big business here in Pennsylvania. 600,000 of our fellow Pennsylvanians work in agriculture. We generate $132 billion annually for ag. Yet sadly, too often times when politicians or folks in Harrisburg talk about ag, they talk about it as though it's something historic. They talk about it as something as part of our heritage. And yes, it is a critically important part of our heritage, but it is absolutely vital for our future. And I think to disrespect that, to not honor the future of ag, is something that we can't allow anymore. That's why, for the first time in 20 years, Pennsylvania now has an economic development strategy written by my administration, adopted by my administration. We're carrying it out in my administration. Why do I mention economic development? Because for the first time ever, agriculture is central to our economic development efforts. In fact, we're focusing on 5 key areas, everything from life sciences to energy, manufacturing, robotics, and agriculture. So ag is now at the center of everything we do from an economic development perspective. So no longer are we just funding our high-rises in our cities or our suburban sprawling office parks. That's important, don't get me wrong. But I think the future of our Commonwealth, the future of our economy, runs right through farms and companies like Mossers, and we've got to invest again. I spent a whole lot of time listening to farmers, listening to our agriculture interests, and they talked to me about the need for more capital and more innovation, more opportunity there. And so I called for, in my first budget, the creation of a new Ag Innovation Fund, a fund that will allow places like Mossers and others to deploy technology in ways to enhance their farming. We're now the only state in the nation with such a fund, thanks to the fact that we were able to bring Republicans and Democrats together in the legislature to support my vision, to support our budget, and to get a new $10 million Ag Innovation Fund off the ground. I'm here today because Mossers, well, A, I wanted to be here because I thought it was cool and I want to learn more, but also because Mossers is one of the first recipients of an Ag Innovation Grant that's going to take that machinery right there and basically double its capacity, allowing more acreage to be farmed, more potatoes to be able to make it to market, and more opportunities for Mossers with their new 8-row planter. I understand once it's fully up and running, you'll go from about 1,000 acres, you could go all the way up to 2,000 acres. And we're excited about that. I'm excited not just for Mossers, but I'm excited for what this says to other ag interests, other farmers across Pennsylvania, that if you're committed to making sure, if you're committed to farming here in Pennsylvania, we're committed to helping you do that and bringing the best technologies to bear to allow you to increase your product and increase your capacity. In this year's budget, I'm calling for doubling the Ag Innovation Fund. We started at $10 million. We were overrun with applications. Mossers just really stood out. That's why they were one of the first recipients. We've got to now double that to $20 million so more and more of our farmers can benefit from that. In addition to funding ag innovation, we're going to fully fund the Pennsylvania Farm Bill again. We're also looking, and we've done this already and we want to expand on this, to increase the number of people working in agriculture. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to have more apprenticeship programs across Pennsylvania, specifically focused on ag. So while you can go to an apprenticeship program and learn how to be a welder, we think that's great. We also want you to have an apprenticeship program that allows you to learn dairy herd management, for example, and other skills that are needed on our farms across Pennsylvania. So what we're trying to do is start in our schools exciting people about ag, showing them the way to a future in ag, and y'all better do that, right, when you graduate. Learning how you could take a nutrition degree from Penn State, bring it here, and adopt that in ag, using the technology skills that you have, using the apprenticeship program that you went through to gain the skills necessary to complement our ag industry and to sustain it going forward. So we think those apprenticeship investments are really, really important. We're also working with our farmers through critical investments to improve soil health and the quality of land that they steward. We learn a lot from our farmers about what they need, and we invest in that. We're also really pushing hard on organics. I'm proud of the fact that on my watch we've started an organic center of excellence. We've also started a center for plant excellence to drive new research, innovation, and business growth to ensure that we remain a national leader in the green industry. And that PA Preferred logo that you see on different things at the supermarket, we've expanded that to have PA Preferred, now PA Preferred Organic. I want people in other states seeing that PA Preferred logo and knowing that's the best quality. That came from our farmers in Pennsylvania. It must be the best. And so I'm going to choose that at the grocery store over something else. Listen, we're doing well on ag. We've got some challenges, and we're addressing them as well. I brought Democrats and Republicans together to support my budget that included a fund for high-path avian influenza, both detection and to help us deal with it. We're actually the only state in the nation with a fund to help our poultry farmers whose flocks have been wiped out, making them whole again. That's really, really important. We also know that we've got to do more testing to help in ag, and so I'm proud after, I think, 20 years of folks talking about this, we finally got a Western lab funded, and we're getting that built to help our testing capacity and mitigate future disease outbreaks. We think all of those investments are really important, and it's important to have partnerships, not just with the folks who vote for the budgets in the state and allow us to drive dollars out like this, but also to make sure we're working with our federal counterparts as well. And so we work closely with them to try and make sure that Pennsylvania gets its fair share. Talked to Senator McCormick and our congressional delegation. I've worked with Secretary Rollins as well to make sure that Pennsylvania gets its fair share of dollars. And listen, I'm also going to stand up to them when they do something that hurts our farmers. Unfortunately, the Trump administration recently, and this is where Leila and I first got to know each other, they cut a really important program that funded 189 farms to provide produce and whatever it is that they farm to local food banks for folks who are hungry. Unfortunately, this was an incredibly successful program, and I understand about 10% of the potatoes that you send out to market was making their way into these food banks. We have got to make sure that that program gets restored. We had a 3-year contract with the federal government, with USDA, and they cut it after just 3 months. So they've got a legal process we're going through now. I'm hopeful that the Secretary will rethink that, stop hurting Pennsylvania farmers, stop hurting Pennsylvania food banks, and get those dollars to flow again to Pennsylvania farmers and to Pennsylvania food banks. It's super important that that be part of the work that is being done by our farms. We have an abundance of food that is farmed in Pennsylvania. No one should have to go hungry. And I think it is one of the most noble things in the world you can do to feed your neighbors. That's what Mossers is doing, and I want to make sure that the initiatives at the federal level aren't hurting their ability to do just that. So we're going to stay on that as well, and we're going to continue to make sure that investments are made in places like this on the technology needs they have, on the expansion needs they have, to make sure, as you said when you put that finger up at the beginning, that we are not only number one, but that we are number one by a long way. And I think Mossers has the ability to do just that. And I couldn't be more proud to be here today to announce this investment, to see the incredible work that's gone on here, and to be able to be part of helping you all dream big things about your future here. So thank you for welcoming me here. It's good to be back in Schuylkill County, guys. Thank you for all the good work that you're doing in the community. Proud to partner with you on a number of economic development fronts. And I look forward to taking a few questions from you in a few moments. But first, I want to invite Leila up to talk a little bit more about the initiative she's working on here at Mossers. Again, it's been a privilege to get to know her and to learn more about the important initiative she's worked on to help feed those who are hungry with the delicious potatoes coming from here at Mossers. Leila, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Shapiro.
Thank you.
And thank you to the Mosser family and to all of those on our team that have made this possible, because it wouldn't be possible without the family, the leadership, and the team with us. So if we can give a big round of applause to all those who made this day possible. We'd also like to recognize our elected officials, county representatives, county leaders, and I also give a shout out to our Tri-Valley High School superintendent, who's been a champion of ag and who's helped building the workforce of tomorrow, investing in apprenticeships and giving us an opportunity to build ag from the ground up. It's my honor and privilege on behalf of the Mosser family of companies as the Vice President of Marketing to share with you a little bit today about this Ag Innovation Grant. So honored to be one of the recipients of this brand new economic investment into the future of ag for Pennsylvania. As a lifelong farmer, a resident of not Schuylkill County, Adams County, I am proud to see it championed right here in a place that we say, grown where it matters. Would you all agree? Grown where it matters in Schuylkill County. We would like to also share that this wouldn't be possible if we didn't have the opportunity to know what it was like to have our 4-row planner trying to cover not only 3 counties, be crossing 130 farms, 1,400 individual fields. We appreciate the opportunity to take ag innovation and invest it in an 8-row planner. One of the first ever to come to our operation to allow us to be more efficient, be more mindful of our conservation means, to do a job that doesn't impair the soil, it minimizes compaction, and it provides us an opportunity to use liquid fertilizer versus a dry fertilizer. We're working with Sputnik to put together this new opportunity planner that will bring our workforce to a precision planning with this 8-row planner. Now, many of you already know this, but I will share there's a Mosser advantage. We call it, you plant to conditions, not the calendar. And we know in farming, you get a sliver of a window of opportunity to get the seed in the ground. Many of you know today is beautiful, but tomorrow is rain forecasted. We need to plant our potatoes between mid to late April to the very beginning of June. If we plant too early, we have a frost risk. If we plant too late, we see declined yields. So for us, speed and efficiency with precision matters. And while we have one of the best farm teams anyone could have, with almost 30 team members working tirelessly to ensure that crop, the machinery will make all the difference for us. It's also important because we service retail partners not only in this state but across the country. And I too like being part of a winning team, right?
That's right.
We want to lead the nation's bud production, and this Ag Innovation Grant allows us to take advantage of an opportunity to build for the future. As you look at the 9th generation sitting in the audience with us today, we are investing not in today, but we're investing in the future of tomorrow for agriculture in Pennsylvania. It's significant for us as we know competition is all around us, but it is imperative for us as a family-owned and operated 8th generation business building for tomorrow. We need to do it and get it done today. So in conclusion, I would like to also recognize all of those who have fought for the support of Governor Shapiro and his administration to bring ag to the economic pillar that it is today. And the future is impaired that we do the right thing by investing in tomorrow for local food and local growers. Again, a shout out to Governor Shapiro and his team, Secretary Redding, and our local officials for your leadership and unwavering support of the future of Pennsylvania. And to the incredible farm families that we work with across this state, the region, and the country that allows us to make sure that we're growing experiences that nourish to make a difference for tomorrow. Again, thank you for the opportunity to lead the way with ag innovation and for making our state first in the nation to invest in ag innovation. Together, we are sowing seeds for a brighter and prosperous future in Pennsylvania agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to introduce Kyle Hefner from the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau.
All right, Kyle.
Thank you. Mr. Governor, distinguished guests, it is indeed an honor and privilege to stand before you today to thank for your support through the Ag Innovation Grant Program. My family operates a diversified dairy farm in Pine Grove, Schuylkill County. We milk 220 cows, we grow fruits and vegetables, and we produce wine, and we sell it in our roadside market. The farm has been in our family since 1910. My 3 children represent the 5th generation to operate the farm. As with any business, the need to innovate is extremely important. In agriculture, we continually face challenges such as weather, increasing expenses, and labor shortages. We are also a recipient of this money. We plan to use the grant to install robotic milkers on our farm, which will free up family labor to do other labor that needs to be done. We also received some money from the Center of Dairy Excellence. That money we used to develop a transition plan to bring the 5th generation into ownership. When I was in high school, one farmer fed about 25 people. Today, that number has escalated to over 150 people. The need to increase our efficiency will also grow. I believe that the future of agriculture will also focus on smaller farms doing on-farm processing and selling directly to the consumer. This will increase the need for funding to get the projects up and running. Everything from fruit and vegetable processing to meat and milk processing. The need for this program is going to be great. We've entered a new era, the era of sustainability, where we need to get food from farm to table more efficiently to more people than ever before. Thanks to the Ag Innovation Grant Program, Pennsylvania is on the forefront of this era. Thank you. Mr. Governor?
Thank you, Kent.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I love beginning with Dave talking about this place being number 1, and Kent talking about, close the program with Kent talking about us being on the forefront when it comes to ag. I think for a lot of years, Pennsylvania either fell behind or we were kind of treading water. We're moving again, and we're being innovative. And this Ag Innovation Grant, being the first in the nation, is an example of that. And it is working. And we're going to keep coming back here to see your success and holding that up, not just to highlight and celebrate the work you're doing, the work your pop and mom and others did before you, but to make sure that we are using this as an example to encourage other farmers and other ag interests across Pennsylvania. We think you're a terrific role model for others, and grateful for the chance to be with you here today. I'll take a few questions from the media. Unfortunately, I have to go back to the Capitol. I'd rather just wander around here all day. It's way more beautiful. But if the media's got any questions, we're happy to answer them. Good.
Do you have concerns there could be more cuts of federal funding to programs that support agriculture?
I am. Look, I mean, they're obviously going in a new direction in Washington. Certainly, they're right to do that. But I'm going to work to make sure that they understand that if you're cutting rural health care, if you're cutting funding for agriculture, if you're cutting these vital lines that help our farmers, if you've got a tariff policy that hurts our farmers, I'm going to let them know that that's hurting Pennsylvania. And I'm going to try and push back on that and try to do my best to convince them not to make those cuts. I want to be really clear that when they cut funding in Washington, D.C., whether it's for rural health care or funding that goes to our farmers, we don't have the capacity to make that up. So that will be felt in rural communities. It'll be felt by our farmers. So I'm doing everything I can behind the scenes to try and talk to our lawmakers in D.C. and let them know that the path they're on would have really, really devastating cuts that would, I think, disproportionately harm rural communities. Yeah.
So this is, welcome back to Schuylkill County. I believe this is your second time here as sitting governor. And before that, I think it was Wolf in 2014-ish or 15-ish.
Wow. You're a student of Pennsylvania government. Good for you.
More local history. I love local history. We're seeing a lot more state investment here than I've seen in my lifetime, or that I've seen reading through old archives of the Shenandoah Evening Herald. Like here, this grant. The grant to his dairy farm down the road. Higgins just got a new municipal building thanks to a state grant. And back home in Shenandoah, we're building the first new building downtown since Rite Aid in 2000, thanks to a state grant. Do you want to talk about the commitment of Schuylkill County and why it's important to be here and why it's important to invest in a county like ours?
You know, when I was campaigning to be governor, I said there were too many communities that oftentimes were forgotten, ignored, left behind. And I made clear that I was not only going to show up in those communities, but I was going to listen. I was going to learn from the people in those communities, and I was going to deliver for them. To me, that was a central point that I was trying to make to people all across Pennsylvania. I gave you all my word I was going to do that, and now I'm delivering on my word. Now understand that it is a two-way street, and let me explain what I mean by that. There's no investment here in potatoes in Schuylkill County if there's not a Mossers. So we find, whether it's the private sector or our public sector leaders who have their acts together, we find partnerships that we can invest in. When your county commissioners come to us and say, hey, this is particularly important, we've worked out all the kinks, we've worked out the details, we've got bipartisan support, then that's something we want to invest in. When a company comes to us and says, look, we're doing great, and we've got our act together, but we can do even greater with a little bit of help on an Ag Innovation Grant, we want to make that investment. So I think it's a combination of, one, I give a damn about this community, and two, I've been here enough to listen, to learn, and to find the folks that are working together and support their work. One thing, look, I used to be a local elected official. I was a county commissioner. I don't want to show up in a community and tell them what they ought to do. I want to come to a community where they're working together and they've got a plan, and I want to make sure that we are helping and investing in that. I think it's also really important to note that the dollars that we are investing here, like this grant here today for Ag Innovation, come as a result of my work with a divided legislature. In fact, when this passed, I was the only governor in the whole country with a divided legislature, a Senate led by Republicans, a House led by Democrats. I don't share that to be partisan. I just share that to tell you my reality. So for these things to get to my desk, for this funding to be available, the only way that happens is by bringing Republicans and Democrats together to make those investments. And that is something I'm really proud of, that we've been able to do that. And I think that's the way we need to focus more in government, finding common ground, listening to people on the ground who have their act together, working with the private sector, because government doesn't have all the answers, and then delivering on something that can have a real and tangible impact. When they open the wings on this thing, oh, it won't be this one, but it'll look like it. They open the wings and they've got 8 rows instead of 4, and they can increase their capacity. That means more jobs, more potatoes, more revenue, and more opportunities for Pennsylvania to be on the map for ag. It's a big deal, and I'm proud that we can play a part in that. Anything else? Yep.
Governor, what kind of programs would be funded by the Ag Innovation Fund as of right now? We've seen a lot of cuts with the USDA, specifically when it comes to the Climate Smart program. Yeah. I've had farmers reach out to me saying that they have lost the ability to plant blueberries and other plants that would be resistant to Pennsylvania's changing climate. What kind of programs could they possibly get funding for their farms?
Well, again, we're investing in ag at a time where seemingly the federal government is divesting and taking money away. We're putting dollars in. And we think it's really important to make these kinds of investments. I want agriculture to be the center of our economy in Pennsylvania. And one of the best ways you do that is by cutting taxes, something that I've worked hard to get done, and make the kind of investments that we're making here at Mossers. I think part of those investments have to also contemplate climate. You mentioned that in your question. Look, climate change is real. Anybody who works the lands knows that climate is having an impact on the way they farm and the impact on agriculture. And what we need to do is arm our farmers with the best information, the best technology, the best research in order to do that. Some of it comes through our investments. Some of it comes, you go to Penn State, right? Some of it comes from our great institutions like Penn State that are studying this, doing the research to help our farmers be able to work within the limitations that climate change puts on us. So it's all investment for us. It's all cooperative for us. It is going to be made harder if the federal government walks away from rural communities, walks away from our farmers. So if I give $1 to a farmer, but they lost 2 because of federal cuts, that's going to hurt that farmer. We're not going to cut. We're going to keep investing. We think this is important, and I'm going to do everything in my power to let our federal officials know now's the time to be investing in ag, not taking dollars away. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. And then also last month, the FDA canceled the milk testing program, specifically as it refers to high-path avian influenza. Yeah. Where is Pennsylvania on that testing? I know obviously we have that plant in western PA. Will we still be testing raw milk for high-path avian influenza?
Yeah, and look, this is another example. We are, by the way, you should be asking your federal officials these questions, but I'm happy to answer them, and they're fair questions. But here's the thing. We are the only state in the nation who created a high-path avian influenza fund to support our poultry farmers when their flocks get wiped out. I think we have about $60 million, $62 million, if memory serves me correct, sitting in the bank available for our poultry farmers when the worst crisis hits their poultry farms. The best way to stop that worst case scenario is to do the testing, is to try and make sure you're testing these flocks. If you get a bad test, you're able to isolate that as quickly as possible so it doesn't spread either throughout that particular farm or to others. And so the federal government removing dollars and removing capacity to test just makes it harder for our poultry farmers, just makes it more likely that high-path avian influenza is going to spread. I shared this directly with Secretary Rollins in a meeting. Secretary Redding and I were both there together with governors from other states. I mean, it was bipartisan. I might have actually, I think, been the only Democrat in the room, maybe one of only 2. Because the point is, like, ag shouldn't be a partisan exercise. Ag shouldn't be about, helping one state over the other. Ag should be about something that lifts everybody up. And we've got to make sure that we are stopping the spread of things like high-path avian influenza, which hurts our farmers. And I pleaded with Secretary Rollins not to make those cuts. Unfortunately, they did. So on that front, because we have this fund available, we're able to help our poultry farmers, but it's going to be harder and harder to sustain that over the long run if the feds roll back the investments that they had previously been making in rural communities. Okay?
Thank you.
We good? Hold on, we got to let Mr. Mosser get the last word here. Sir, the floor is yours.
More of a comment. Kent and I sit on Schuylkill County's Farmland Preservation Board. We're appointed by the commissioners, and we have great support from the commissioners for that program, and
Great.
we appreciate your continued support from the Department of Agriculture on that program. We've got a lot of farmland around here that we have in the program, and that helps preserve the land we need to produce the food we need. Great.
Thank you. And by the way, thank you for not just running a heck of a business, but thank you for your willingness to go and represent your community as a supervisor. That is hard work. And by the way, you don't need to do that work. And the fact that you do says a lot about the kind of culture you have here in this company, in this community. So appreciate that. And of course, your leadership at Penn State and many other things. So thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.